So the White House changing its tune a bit this morning on the border crisis, now asking Governor Rick Perry to join a roundtable on immigration issues while the president is in Texas this week. The invitation comes as pressure builds on the Obama administration to do something. The big question now, does the White House even have a plan of what to do? Here is Bill O'Reilly's take on what he calls the inaction.
The truth is that President Obama has lost control of the process. America is now being threatened by terrorists once again, and the terrorists believe they're winning. The southern border is a sieve. Mexico is facilitating hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens coming into this country. And what's the administration doing in Mexico? Nothing. Finally, in a perfect world, all oppressed people would be given an opportunity to have a better life. America is a place of opportunity. We should take a sane number of immigrants every year into our system. But to have millions of mostly poor people pour into this country without the resources to care for them, to educate them, to relocate them, is simply anarchy.
Brad Blakeman is a former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. Bernard Whitman is a former pollster for President Bill Clinton. Gentlemen, welcome.
Morning.
Good to have you both here. You know, I think it's worth noting that this conversation on the border between the governors and the president has been going on for some time. I mean, we have a picture here from 2010 of Jan Brewer saying, this is Rick Perry. We also have Jan Brewer. Both of them. Rick Perry gave the president a letter on the tarmac saying, please come do something. Here's Jan Brewer the Jan Brewer one, I think it was from 2010, saying, you know, look, we need your attention. Please come to the border and see what's going on here. And the administration's answer, Bernard, was always, oh, we have a safer, stronger border now than ever. So if that's the case, how are all these people getting in, Bernard?
Well, the issue is a lot bigger than just border security. I mean, the reason for this problem is there's terrible violence, there's economic poverty, and there's human traffickers that are exploiting vulnerable children by spreading lies and misinformation. They're going to be able to just sail into the United States. That's what's responsible for this. But I tell you, I think the administration needs to do three things. I think, number one, we absolutely do need to give the president authority, as he has with immigrants from Mexico, to return undocumented immigrants immediately. I don't think that we should be treating children from Guatemala or Honduras or El Salvador any different than we do from Mexico, number one. Number two, he does need money to speed up the legal process for those people who are already here. And third, and perhaps most importantly, we need to make some investments, as we've done in Colombia, for example, to help kids down there return to school, get jobs, and help stem the tide of immigration from the south. That's where the problem actually starts, and the investment there will be actually a lot better return than simply strengthening the border here.
So if all these problems were problems, right, if we didn't have enough money, if we knew about the situation that was going on in these countries for a long time, which we did, how did we get so caught off guard by this huge flood and this crisis situation, Brad?
We got caught up because there's a lack of leadership, Martha. Look, in 2012, in the re-elect, the president said our borders are secure. Now we should move on to other immigration reforms. The border has never been secure under this administration. It's been porous. It's been more advantageous for illegals to come over under Obama because he thumbs his nose at the law and refuses to even enforce the laws we have on immigration. These kids just didn't get on their bikes and come here. This was orchestrated. It was financed. Who's behind it? The president. Good leadership requires a leader to prevent bad things from happening, not merely respond when crisis develops, and to lead through crisis when it does develop. The president is absolutely leaderless. He's going to Texas, refused to go to the border. He's giving a meeting to the governor of Texas, not because he wants to, he's being forced into it. And what kind of meeting will it be? Because he's not going to end that meeting with giving Texas and Arizona and New Mexico and California the assets needed to once and for all secure this border.
You know, it's an uncomfortable situation. They talk about the optics. And I remember the Elian Gonzalez case, different case, obviously. He, you know, came from Cuba. But this is how that ended. And talk about bad optics for Clinton and Janet Reno when this boy was basically ripped out of his closet at gunpoint. So now you have a different situation, mind you, on the border where these children are being picked up by huge planes in South Texas and being taken to other places. So how on earth, as Josh Earnest has suggested, he said when they go through the process, most of them will be sent back. How are you going to round them up and send them back, Bernard?
I think it's going to take, unfortunately, a lot of money and some time. I mean, I think that's why we need to give the legal system additional money so we can speed up, so we can have more hearings. But again, the point here isn't to politicize this. And you know, the reason why the president, I think, was hesitant to meet with Rick Perry is out of his mind to suggest that the administration is somehow ginning people up to come here illegally. That is absurd. The problem rests in the horrible conditions that are in Central America. And frankly, I think that, as I said, if we make some investments down there and give kids an opportunity to return to school. There was a pilot program that was done in El Salvador where 86% of the kids that we worked with actually returned to school and got jobs.
One way or the other, that it's okay to come and that you're not going to be sent back. And you know how they got that message? Because historically, people are not sent back.
From human traffickers.
That's how they got that message.
They got it from human traffickers who are trying to make a quick buck and exploit these kids by bringing them north. These kids are just not getting on buses by themselves and sailing into the United States.
No, of course they're not, but they're coming, Brad, are they not? With the understanding that, look, your relatives went, other people went, and it's going to be fine. Nobody is going to send you back.
Look, if we had a secure border, it would be Mexico's problem. They couldn't get in. And how ironic that we can send American troops to secure the border of Afghanistan and Iraq and other places, but we can't use our troops to be the first line of defense to secure our own borders? It makes absolutely no sense. The president had a sense of emergency in sending emergency troops to Iraq. Why? Because it was needed immediately. Yet the president has no action at all when we have a crisis on our own border. It makes no sense. And the fact is, and I have to allege this because I believe it to be true, that if you had Democratic governors in the state of Texas and other places, in Arizona, the president would have acted immediately. It's not in his interest to act. It's going to be a Republican's problem, and that's the real insanity of what the president's created on our own border.
Brad, that is so deeply offensive. Why doesn't Congress act? Why doesn't Congress pick up this legislation? They've got 3 more weeks before the
president has the obligation as commander-in-chief to secure our border.
Give him the authority to return these kids immediately and give him the funding to do it.
To be continued. Brad, Bernard, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll see you next time.